Last time we talked about communication issues in autism. We started talking about communication issues in autism. But now we will talk about language in autism. Sort of, let's talk about talking. And in order to communicate successfully, last time we discussed shared experiences and shared knowledge, which is absolutely necessary. And today it is about shared tool of communication or language. Brief definition of language. I am a linguist. I love to talk about language. Language is a system of symbols. We call them words and methods or rules of combination of these symbols used by a section or group of people. And main functions of language is communicative, of course, and cognitive, because verbal people think in words. But last time we discussed it, many autistic children and adults, their language, their native language, their first language is not their mother tongue. This is sensory-based language. And that's why autistic languages, there are several of them, visual, spatial, auditory, tactile, kinesthetic, and olfactory. Perhaps even more, but these are the main languages most commonly used by autistic people. Visual language, right? Many people can imagine this, and Temple Grandin, a good example of visual thinker. Yes, they think in pictures, in videotapes in their heads, so it is well known. And it means their cognitive language, right? It is visual. And that's why their problem is uh, they have to translate from pictures to verbal language and vice versa. Not all autistic people think in pictures. I remember this book, Temple Grandin, Thinking in Pictures in the last century. I think it was 1996 published. And then uh, everyone decided, oh, autistic people all are visual thinkers. No, not all of them. And this is a very good example from Donna Williams. I learned sound pattern and the feel of words in my mouth and sound pattern in my ears, but without gestural signing to link experiences to the blah blah, the interpretation was lost. Unlike Temple, I do not think in pictures. I imagine primarily in feel, movement, kinesthetic, and via acoustics made by the object when struck. I visualize like a blind person. I think this is the best definition of autistic languages because my son is like this. He's not visual. I am not visual. I can't imagine anything. But my son, and when he went to school, special school, right? And they tried to give him pictures and whatever. It was frustrating for him. He was really angry about it because these were meaningless things to do. He used these pictures like, he was, for example, given something. He would do this to flap and to hear the sound. For him, it was useless. So this is important to remember, especially at schools for autistic children. Not all of them are visual thinkers. There is this auditory language, and I don't mean like sounds or words. It's like their language is they interpret what is going on by the sounds produced by people, objects, animals, and so on and so forth. For example, my son, being in his bedroom, he knows what I'm doing in the kitchen. By the sound, he can hear, oh, it's a drawer, mother took knives and forks and whatever. By sound, by the sounds I produce, he interprets what is going on. So this is auditory language, right? Tactile language. And this is the photo of one of my first students in my school. It was 1994. Sasha, nonverbal. He was 4 years old, and he was not visual, and he was tactile, tactile language. You see, he doesn't look, he touches everything to recognize everything. And by the way, we taught him to read, giving him plastic letters. That's how he learned letters and numbers. A very clever boy, by the way, and he was completely nonverbal at the time. So this is tactile language. By touch, through this feeling of the object in the hand, they can interpret it. Kinesthetic language, it is learning via movement, movement of the body. And that's why some children who are kinesthetic speakers, if you like, right? And who, when you give them instruction, for example, first you go straight and they start moving on the spot, right? Or then you turn left and they start like turning left to remember your instructions. And what do we say? Stop fidgeting, right? No, you see, for some children and adults, these movements of their body is their language. They remember, they interpret everything through movements. But the problem is very different languages, right? Verbal language and sensory based language. And there are translation problems. And this is the example from Donna Williams. The linking of words with sensory experience means that if I hear the word shoe, I link this with the sound it makes on the floor. If I hear picture, I re-experience running my fingers around its frame, the cold of its glass, and the sound it makes being tapped. If I hear the word biscuit, I re-experience the crunch and the feeling of it as I ate it. See, I give the example from Donna Williams because I think she was one of the best, or perhaps the best, who understood autism, like classic autism, I mean, right? And that's why, again, I encourage all of you, read her books. Uh, it's fantastic. Uh, just to show you the difficulty they experience. For example, you say something and do this, or what is it? In order to communicate their thoughts, they have to select particular images and place them in order. Then they have to translate all these images into a foreign language for them, into a verbal language their people speak. And what is more, while translating, they have to be able to hold these images together in the memory while they either visualizing them or interpreting from auditory language and so on and so forth. And the same is true the other way around when they have to respond to verbal instructions, translating them into their native tongue. And of course, perceptual thinkers have trouble with words that cannot be constructed into a mental picture. The words know and feel and it and of and by. You can't imagine them, you cannot see them, you cannot touch them, you cannot smell them, right? And people cannot show you a no and explain, feel. How does feel look like? And social experiences, politeness, and all these greetings, they have more problems, right? They cannot be represented with sensory-based mental images. How can you try to translate social experiences into sensory concepts? But, and this is a paradox in autism, beautiful metaphors and concrete thinkers. You know, it's a myth that they don't understand metaphors. No, they don't understand idioms. It's different. For example, crying your eyes out. It's impossible to imagine that somebody will cry their eyes out. But metaphors, they are absolutely necessary. And they not only understand metaphors, they create their own metaphors. For example, Temple Grandin, to understand the concept of peace, she imagined a dove or an Indian peace pipe, or to understand an abstract concept of honesty, for example. She imagined an image of a person placing his or her hand on the Bible in court, and so on, so forth. And they create, as I said, their own images, and that's why their own metaphors. So, see, that is why, please remember, they also can talk metaphorically. Was it Lucy? I don't remember her example, that her understanding of kindness. I like this example. She imagined her grandfather petting their dog, and this was the translation of this abstract concept into the sensory based autistic language. I think we will stop for now, and next time we will talk about very peculiar autistic verbal language. Thank you.